In this video we want to look at succession planning. Now this is one video amongst a few on this topic, and it's wise to check out the other videos as well. But to start, we need to look at the succession process and why it's necessary to have a succession strategy. According to Hodgetts and Carrasco in 1998, succession strategy requires the following consideration: understanding the contextual aspects, identifying successor qualities, and carrying out the succession plan. Now, in this particular video, we're going to talk specifically about identifying successor qualities. So we're going to focus in on the identification of successor qualities, ones which are suitable for the success of the business and the survival of the business in the future. Hodgetts and Carrasco suggest the following to be some qualities a successor must possess or have the potential to acquire over time. So they must have the right level of knowledge to run the business. It almost goes without saying they must have the right level of knowledge to run the business. If not, they would be totally unsuited for the task. But this means they must have been trained by the person retiring or the person who wanted to leave the business. They must have spent some time in acquiring the skills, and they must have the requisite knowledge to run the business. They can't just take over the business and try their hand or take a chance. It would be a risky strategy for the business, and the survival of the business means a competent person with good knowledge of the business is required to take on that duty. They must of course be honest and capable. The reputation of the business is at stake, and both the capability of the person to do the job and to portray a professional demeanour to show the world, show the competitors and show the stakeholders that he or she has got the capability to run the business, have the confidence to run the business. That's important. But they must also of course be honest, because the reputation of the business is at stake. So they must be honest in their dealings so as to enhance the reputation of the business. And that's of course just ignoring the ethical issues associated with dishonesty, which I've skimmed over. They must, generally speaking, be in good health to run the business. The person taking over the business must have good health, must be capable of expending time and energy in developing the business, looking after the business and promoting the business. And that takes energy and it takes commitment. They must have enthusiasm and passion for the business and its goals. If they're not committed to the business, they won't make a success of it. If they're not interested, they won't make a success of it. They must have enthusiasm and passion for the business. They must understand what the business is about. They must, in a sense, like the product. They must like working in this type of industry. So they must have enthusiasm and passion, and that will motivate them to be more committed to the business and to do a better job. Personality type that is compatible with the organization and culture. If the business is a very traditional business, making handicrafts or making some traditional product, we would expect the person running the business to empathize with that and to understand the clients and understand what they expect. If, on the other hand, the business is producing something for the younger market, much more innovative and much more fashion-based, we would expect the owner of the business or the person managing the business to empathize with that particular market and to understand the requirements of that market. So the personality type must match the the type of business it is. There must be a correspondence between the two to enable it to be a success. Now, identifying successor qualities. Well, perseverance, maturity, stability, resourcefulness, and thoroughness. These are all good words that could be applied here in terms of the successor qualities. So, perseverance, prepare to carry on even when things go wrong, just keep trying to make a success of it. Maturity, they don't give up easily, they understand the constraints and they can work with the constraints, work around the constraints. Stability, they're going to apply themselves continuously and not be emotional or give up too easily. And resourcefulness and thoroughness, as I said. Should have good planning and organizing skills. Clearly, these are essential characteristics in running any business, but they must have good planning and organizing skills, and that must be evident before they're even approached to be the successor, to lead the particular business in the event of someone retiring or someone who wishes to hand over the business. So they must spot the people who have good planning and good organizing capability. A good eye for sourcing talent and employee development. They must show that they are capable of making good decisions, and particularly good decisions about employing new operators within the business. The employees have to be selected, and the selector may in turn be selected to be the successor in the business. If that person is making good decisions about employment and who to employ and how to develop the staff and the relationships he or she has with the staff, that is all reflects on the type of personality that person is and their suitability to become the successor. Complete agreement with the owner's business philosophy and ethos. There should be no gap between what the owner wants from the business and what the successor wants from the business. There should be a correspondence between the two. They should agree. And they should understand what each of them want. They should understand that they may have slight differences, but they're able to accommodate those. But they must understand that they are capable of working together, at least in the early stages before the person perhaps finally leaves the business, the owner finally leaves the business. They're able to work together, they're able to see eye to eye, and eventually there is sufficient confidence on the part of the owner to hand over completely to the successor, because he or she knows that the successor will do it the same way, the way that the owner wants. Identifying successor qualities. Well, before a successor can be appointed, the following areas of concern must be addressed. So we have business concerns, the owner concerns, and family concerns. We have three headings. So the business venture and its environment. So the business under business concerns is the business venture and its environment. What sort of venture is it? What's the environment within which it operates? How stable is that environment? How competitive? What are the threats to the business? What are the opportunities that could be developed for the business? So it's a question of understanding the environment and understanding how the environment impacts on the business. Entrusting power and leadership. That's the owner's concern. Handing over the power, handing over leadership. Finally saying, it's all yours. You run it. That's a big step. It's a big step for the owner who's perhaps developed the business from nothing and Now it's got to the stage where someone else is taking it over and the owner is moving into the background. It's a big step. It's quite an emotional step as well. The person who developed the business may have seen the business as his or her creation, and now someone else has got it. Family concerns, well, their level of control over assets and decision making. The family may be worried that when the successor takes over, they've lost control of the assets, they've lost control of decision making. They don't know what decisions are being made on a day-to-day basis, whether decisions are good or bad, and they don't know what's happening to the assets, if they're being used properly or if they're being abused, or what's happening exactly. They're not involved, they can't see inside the business. So it's a frustrating time for the family members as well. Current business development and potential for growth is another issue within the for the business. Looking at the business development, is it developing rapidly compared to its competitors? Is it slow? What is its potential growth? Why is it not growing? All the issues associated with the health of the business. For the owner, ensuring family function as a unit and security of their role within the business. So for the owner, it may be that the owner is concerned about involvement of his or her family in the business and their long-term future, because now someone else is running it. It may be a family member or it may be somebody from the outside, depending on who was selected. But the owner may have concerns about the long-term prospects of employment, indeed, for his or her family members within the business, given that the business has now been handed over. Of course, ownership won't have been handed over. It's just the managerial functions, but nonetheless, it may still be a source of concern. Family concerns. Well, ensuring business continuity after the takeover. So ensuring that the business continues after the takeover. That's important for the family, to ensure that perhaps the revenue stream that was coming from the business to the family will be secure into the future, so the family are able to sustain itself. And the final business concern here, brought this up a little earlier, the business culture, ethics, norms and values. What should the business be projecting as its culture? Commitment to the environment, commitment to its employees, to its stakeholders generally, the type of product it makes, commitment to the environment, what are its values, what sort of pay and holidays does it grant, and support for its employees, and what is its reliability for delivery and payment of bills to creditors, and what's exactly its reputation, and how should that be put across. The owner concerns is keeping resources, assets in the business. So the owner, who may no longer be involved in the business, will still be worried about the growth of the business and keeping the resources of the business within the business. There will be more opportunity for the current manager of the business to perhaps not commit as hard as the owner did. Depends on the remuneration package. It may be paid by bonuses, in which case there may be more commitment and more motivation. But if they're not paid by bonuses, they may not commit themselves as strongly to the business, and therefore the business may not flourish as it should. And for the family, protection of their own interests, making sure that the business will continue and that it will survive. Make sure that the current manager operates in a way to secure the future of the business and to secure the revenue stream that they depend on, perhaps as a family. So succession planning involves many different aspects that needs to be taken into account, and there are different layers of concern, ranging from the business to the owner to the family, but also, of course, to the successor, him or herself. The successor will also have a set of requirements that will need to be addressed and which are not considered here. So identifying successor qualities. Well, these concerns must be dealt with during the succession process, and policies must be established which take account of the concerns. It's maybe not just a question of the owner one day calling somebody and say, you are going to be the successor, you take over the business, and 6 months later say, here you are. Perhaps the successor will have a series of questions and concerns that need to be addressed, and there may have to be a change of policy in the business to accommodate the requirements of the successor. It may not be that the successor is just a passive acceptor of the requirements of the owner. The successor may want his or her own values inserted in as well. I may want to have changes. So the whole process of handing over may be not simply spotting somebody and handing over the business. It may be a process of negotiations so that both sides are happy with the final package. And that would also mean, of course, that the successor will be more committed because he or she has perhaps got what they wanted in terms of their aspirations. And also the owner will be more aware of what the new manager, the successor, will achieve, because the owner will know what they have negotiated. So it's not just a question of handing over, it's a question of negotiating so that both sides, the owner and the successor, are both happy in the process. The owner, legal team, experts, advisors and the family members must be involved in all parts of the succession process. In other words, everyone should really be aware of what the owner is thinking and who's been selected to be the successor, the qualities of the successor, the suitability of the successor, the requirements of the successor in terms of the negotiations I've just talked about, meeting the requirements of the successor, the expert teams who perhaps work with the business in terms of finance or legal advice or whatever it is. They may want to have an input to make suggestions and recommendations. So everyone is kept in the loop. Everyone knows what is being planned and what is what's likely to be the outcome. Well, that's the some of the issues associated with this part of succession planning. What may have come across to you in the videos that you've seen on this so far is that what looks like a very simple process in fact is a little more complex than we would have thought. But it's important to bear in mind the issues that are raised in these videos in the context of succession planning. That's the source that we mentioned. We mentioned it in the other videos as well. An important source. But that's all we're going to deal with here. So we're going to leave this video and say thank you for watching.